This is the first lecture of Optics and Lasers Part 2, which is in BSc 4th semester, or you can say BSc 2nd year. Earlier we had done the series. We went through the series of Optics and Lasers Part 1, that is the 3rd semester, where we discussed about optics. We discussed about interference, diffraction, and then polarization at the end. So in this series of Optics and Lasers Part 2, we will be talking about lasers. So what are the various properties of the light which is emitted by laser? Then what is the working of laser? And what are the various types of lasers, and so on. So firstly, what is a laser? Now laser, it is a device that emits light. So laser is a device that emits light. Now this light which is emitted by laser, it is not like the common light which is emitted by the conventional light sources. For example, the incandescent bulb or CFL lamps. So the light which is emitted by laser has some unique properties, and it is not like the conventional sources of light like incandescent bulb or incandescent lamps or CFL lamps, etc. So laser, it is not like common light sources, or you can say conventional light sources. So the light which is emitted by laser has some unique properties, but the light which is emitted by common light sources, it does not have the unique properties which the light emitted by laser has. So the light which is emitted by laser has some properties which are like the light emitted by laser is highly coherent. About coherence, we have already discussed in the previous series of Optics and Lasers Part 1. So there we discussed about two types of coherence. One is the spatial coherence and another is the temporal coherence. So we have discussed about these two types of coherence in detail in the previous series. So the light which is emitted by laser is highly coherent, and the next property of the light emitted by laser is that it is highly directional. So if you will have the conventional light source, for example, if you have a bulb, the light which is emitted by this common bulb, this light is emitted in all the directions. Whereas the light which is emitted by laser, it goes in a single direction. So it has high degree of directionality, or you can say it is highly directional, whereas the common light sources emit light which goes in all the directions. So this is the second property of the light emitted by laser. Then the light which is emitted by laser is highly intense. Highly intense. Since it is emitted in a single direction, in one direction, therefore the intensity of the light is very high. Then it has high degree of monochromaticity. Now monochromatic light, you already know what is the monochromatic light. The light which has a single wavelength, that is called as monochromatic light. Now the light emitted by the common light sources is not monochromatic, or you can say it has small degree of monochromaticity. The light emitted by common light sources means it emits the light which has very large number of wavelengths. The light emitted by these common light sources has large wavelengths. It is composed of photons which have large number of wavelengths. Several wavelengths are included in the light which is emitted by common light sources. Whereas on the other hand, the light emitted by laser has high degree of monochromaticity. So these properties of the light emitted by laser will be discussed in detail. Now, due to these properties of lasers, that is, it is highly coherent, it has high directionality, it is highly intense, and it has high degree of monochromaticity. Due to these properties of the light emitted by laser, the laser finds applications in various fields. So it has diverse application area. For example, it has large number of applications. Firstly, you are well aware that we have laser printers. Then the laser is also used in CDs. Then the barcode readers, or you can say the laser scanner. These are the devices, barcode readers, these are the devices that you see in the shops. Now this is more common in the market. So that uses lasers to scan the barcode, and laser finds applications in medical field also, and laser is used to do various medical surgeries. So various medical surgeries, they involve laser. So laser has diverse area of application. So it has diverse area of application, and this is due to the fact that the light emitted by lasers is highly coherent, it is highly directional, highly intense, and has high degree of monochromaticity. So due to the applications of lasers in various fields, it becomes important to learn about lasers. So we will be learning the working of a laser. How does the laser work? That is how this device produces the light which is highly coherent, directional, highly intense, and has high degree of monochromaticity. So we will be looking at the working of lasers. Then we will see the unique properties of the light which is emitted by lasers in detail. And the third is that we will look into the types of lasers, and at last we will be seeing the various applications of lasers. So now we are going to see what is the history of laser. So the first laser was invented in 1960. So in 1960, the first ever laser was made, and it was made by Theodore Mammon. So the first ever laser was made in 1960 by Theodore Mammon, and it was the ruby laser. So we will see the working of a ruby laser when we will be discussing about types of lasers. So under types of lasers, we will discuss about the ruby laser also. So in 1960, the first ever laser was made, and in 1916, so the first ever laser was made in 1960, but the idea of lasing, how this light is emitted, how this light can be emitted from such a small device, this idea of lasing originated in 1916. So idea of lasing, that such kind of light can be it can be produced from a device. This idea of lasing was found in 1960. It was given in 1916 by the very famous scientist Einstein. So Einstein gave the idea of lasing in 1916, and he came up with the idea of stimulated emission. So Einstein came up with the idea of stimulated emission, and due to this stimulated emission, the lasers, these devices, they can be made. So now we will see what is stimulated emission in few minutes or maybe in the next lecture. So firstly, what is laser? So laser stands for, L stands for light, A stands for amplification, then S stands for stimulated emission. So light amplification by stimulated emission. So in this device laser, light is emitted and it is amplified using stimulated emission, using the process of stimulated emission. So light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So the photons, or you can say the radiation, is amplified using the process of stimulated emission in this device. So therefore it is named as laser. So the idea of stimulated emission was given in 1916, but it took around 44 years to form the first ever laser. So the idea of stimulated emission, it came up in 1916, but it took around 44 years for scientists to make the first ever laser, which was made in 1960. The very important component of a laser is the gain medium. So this gain medium, this is one of the components of laser. So laser has various components, and one of those components is the gain medium. So this is the medium which emits light. So this medium is responsible for the emission of light. The light which we see outside the laser, which is emitted outside the laser, that light is emitted through this gain medium. Now what happens in this gain medium? So let's say if you have a two-level oscillator. So you have a two-level oscillator. Now this is a gain medium. It will be made up of some atoms. So different types of lasers use different types of gain mediums. And let's say the gain medium is composed of some atoms, and atom, it will have a ground state and it will have its first excited state, or you can say just the excited state. So the ground state, let's say, has energy which is given by EA, and the excited state has energy which is given by EB. Now what we do is we supply energy to the gain medium. We supply energy to the gain medium, and this is called as pumping. So we supply energy to the gain medium, and that is pumping. So pumping can be electrical or it can be optical. So that we will see when we will be discussing about the components of laser. So now we are supplying energy. So let's say we are bombarding a photon whose energy is equal to h nu. The energy of this photon is equal to h nu, and this h nu, let's say this h nu is equal to EB minus EA. So energy of this photon is exactly equal to the difference in the energy levels of this atom. So h nu is equal to EB minus EA. So let's say that is equal to delta E. So the atom is in the ground state. Atom is in the ground state when a photon of energy h nu, which is equal to the difference in the energy of these two levels of the atom. So what happens when this photon falls on this atom? This atom, it will absorb this photon. This atom will absorb this photon and will go to this excited state. So this atom will go to the excited state after absorbing this photon. So there is some photon which is coming from outside. This photon is absorbed by this atom and this atom will go to the excited state. So if H nu is equal to delta E, you can say the atom will go to excited state, and that is nothing but we call as absorption. And more precisely, this is called as stimulated absorption. So in some books you will find it is written as absorption, and in some it will be written as stimulated absorption, because we are stimulating this system from outside with the help of a photon. So this photon it stimulates this system. So we are stimulating this system, this two-level oscillator from outside. So this is called as stimulated absorption, because the atom is absorbing the photon which comes from the outside. It absorbs this photon and goes to the excited state. So the atom over here acts as absorber. So atom acts as absorber over here. So this is the absorption process. Now when this atom, after absorbing this photon, goes to the excited state, so what happens after that? So we have this two-level oscillator, EA energy, and this has energy EB. Now this atom, it has absorbed this photon and has gone to the excited state. So now atom is present over here. Now this excited state has a lifetime. So every excited state has some lifetime, and let's say its lifetime is equal to, it is generally denoted by, lifetime is generally denoted by tau. So this excited state has some amount of lifetime. So this atom, it will stay only up to tau amount of time in this excited state, and after this time it will naturally go to its ground state. And when it will go to its ground state, it will emit a photon. So there will be emission process. Here was the absorption process. Now the atom which is in the excited state, after tau amount of time, will go to its ground state. And during this process, since it is losing energy, that energy is lost in the form of a photon whose energy is equal to H nu, and H nu, this energy of the photon will be equal to EB minus EA. So this photon which is emitted by this atom has energy equal to EB minus EA, which is the difference in the energy of these two levels. So this process where the atom, it goes to its ground state naturally. So over here the atom is going to its ground state naturally after tau amount of time. So this process is called as spontaneous emission. This is called as spontaneous emission. Now over here we used the word stimulated because there was stimulation from outside. We used this photon of energy H nu and we bombarded the atom with this photon of energy H nu. So we have stimulation from outside, so therefore it was called as stimulated absorption. But over here this emission process undergoes naturally, that is it undergoes on its own, so it is called as spontaneous emission. So this is the spontaneous emission because every system wants to lower the energy. So every system wants to lower their energy. So during this process, when they are lowering their energy, a photon will be emitted whose energy will be equal to difference in the energy of these two levels. So over here atom will act as an emitter. So these two processes, this absorption process and this spontaneous emission process, these two processes, they were well known before Einstein. So these two processes, they were well known before Einstein. So Einstein found that there is a third process that occurs. So there is a third optical transition that occurs in addition to these two processes. So first is the absorption, another is the spontaneous emission, and there is a third process also. According to Einstein, there is a third process, and that is the stimulated emission. Stimulated emission. So what happens in stimulated emission? So according to Einstein, if an atom is in an excited state, so let's say it is in the state which has energy EB, and this is the ground state with energy EA. So in the case of spontaneous emission, what happened? That this atom which was in the excited state, it naturally went to the ground state by the emission of a photon. So there is another process that can occur according to Einstein. So Einstein found there is a third process. So if this atom which is in the excited state, if a photon strike this atom which is in the excited state, so what happens? That this photon is stimulated by this atom is stimulated by this photon. So this photon must have energy and h nu which is equal to delta E. So delta E is equal to EB minus EA. So this photon must have energy which is equal to difference in the energy of these two levels. So when this photon strikes this atom which is in the excited state, so what happens? This atom is stimulated by this photon, and this atom will go to its ground state. So this atom, it does not go to the ground state naturally. So in the spontaneous emission, the atom goes to its ground state naturally by the emission of a photon. Whereas in this case, in this third case, what can happen is the atom is stimulated by the external photon whose energy is equal to the difference in energy of these two levels. So when this happens, this atom will go to its ground state by the emission of a photon whose energy is equal to h nu. Since it is lowering its energy, so the difference in energy will go in the form of a photon, and this photon, this original photon which was made to strike on this atom, this will go as it is. So this photon, this first photon, it stimulated this atom which was in the excited state. So this photon stimulated this atom, and this atom, it went to its ground state by the emission of a photon, and the original photon, it went as it is. So this original photon is not absorbed, but it stimulates, it just stimulates this atom to go to its ground state by the emission of a photon, and the original photon, it goes as it is. So you can say you can see that in the case of stimulated emission, we have one photon which goes into the system and two photons come out of this system. So by the due to this stimulated emission, what happens? That one photon goes in and two photon comes out. So this process is the origination of amplification of light. So in the case of laser, as we had seen, so what is the full form of laser? Light amplification by stimulated emission. So by this stimulated emission, the light, or you can say the photons, they are amplified. So one photon goes in this particular system, one photon is going in and two photons are coming out. So this is the amplification, and this is the process of stimulated emission. Now these two photons which are emitted during this stimulated emission, they have some unique properties. So the original photon will go as it is. So let's say this is the original photon 1, and the one photon, it will go as it is, and this upper photon which I have drawn on the top, this photon is the photon which is emitted due to the transition of the atom from the excited to the ground state. So this first photon is emitted due to the transition of the atom, and the first photon, this original photon, it will go as it is. So these two photons which are emitted, they have some unique properties. First is that these two photons, they are coherent to each other. These two photons which are emitted during this stimulated emission process, they both are coherent. And second is that the photon which is emitted due to the transition of the atom. The photon which is emitted, this photon which is emitted due to the transition of the atom from excited to the ground state will go in the same direction as that of the original photon. So this first photon, it will go as it is in the same direction as that of the original photon. So from here comes the directionality. And you can see the incoming photon has energy equal to delta E, and the photon which is emitted due to the transition of the atom from excited to the lower state will also have energy which is equal to delta E. So these two photons, they will be of same wavelength. So from here comes the monochromaticity. So this is stimulated emission. This stimulated emission is the foundation of the lasing process. So this incoming photon, it stimulates the emission of an additional photon. So this photon, it stimulates this atom. This atom, it goes to its ground state, and another photon is emitted which is coherent to the original one and is in the same direction as that of original one and has same wavelength. So this photon, this original photon, or you can say incoming photon, it stimulates the emission of an additional photon. So this is the process of stimulated emission, and this stimulated emission, idea of stimulated emission, arose in the mind of Einstein when he was trying to relate the two-level system, when Einstein was trying to relate the two-level system with the black body radiation. The radiations which are emitted from the black body, when Einstein was trying to relate the radiation emitted by the black body with the radiations which are emitted from a two-level oscillator. So when he was trying to relate these two entities, he saw that there is a need of third process so that the relation of black body radiation and that of radiation emitted by a two-level oscillator exactly match with each other. So from here Einstein came up with the idea of stimulated emission, that there is a need of third process, because before 1916 there were only two processes which were known. First is the absorption, and another thing that can happen is the spontaneous emission. So these two processes were well known before Einstein in 1916. So Einstein was trying to relate the radiations which are emitted from a black body and the radiations which are emitted from a two-level oscillator. So when he was trying to relate these two entities, he found there is a need of third process which he called as stimulated emission, so that the radiation, the expression of the radiation emitted by this two-level oscillator exactly matches with the expression which is found in the case of black body radiation, and that we will see in the next lecture when we will do the derivation for the case of two-level oscillator, where we will discuss about these three processes. First is absorption, then is spontaneous emission, and last is the stimulated emission. So we will see that how Einstein related this two-level oscillator with the black body radiation. So that we will do in the next lecture.